Lawyers, don't get caught naked without professional liability, office business insurance with data breach, and workers' comp. Your host, Michael Carroll, is the country's leading expert for these areas. He knows what you need to properly protect your law firm. That's not all. Michael also talks to top lawyers and top business experts on how to increase revenues. It all makes sense. Cover all bases for your law business to eliminate being caught naked. Here's Michael.
Today's show is going to be big time as I have Jason Rosenblum, who is a managing member of the law office of Jason H. Rosenblum. Jason is going to share with you today how he has niched his practice and the associated benefits. This is big. You really want to understand why. Jason will share today about his international intellectual patent law business and also his business coaching industry law business and why he chose those two niches, plus the benefits of why he became a niche law business. Also, leaders are readers, as I always like to say. On every show, I'll be reviewing a book. If you just commit yourself to just an hour a day to read, you'll easily be able to read a book a week or 52 books a year. If you study all the greats in industry, all millionaires and above read at least a book a week. Maybe not all, but almost all. And the super successful, the billionaires, definitely all do. So you definitely want to commit yourself to reading 40 pages a day. You'll be able to read a book a week. It's really that simple, and watch your income soar. So I'll be right back with my guest, Jason Rosenblum, again, who's going to share with you his two chosen niches in his areas of expertise for his law business. But first, let's go to this week's book review of No BS, Ruthless Management of People and Profits by Dan Kennedy. Michael Carroll here. Take a moment to think about how you found your current insurance broker. Was it on the recommendation of a colleague or the bar? Or is it a friend or someone who belongs to the same country club, church, or temple? Or did you find them on the internet? All very normal and fine until it isn't. And when it isn't, you'll be out of business. See ya. Goodbye. From defense limit issues to deductible issues to no protection for personal autos being used on firm business to data breach risks that are by far the biggest risk any professional office faces. This is a difference between not having to worry about your insurance versus hoping it is all good until again it isn't, and then you become another sad tale. Let the nationally awarded and recognized experts and insuring lawyer share how easy it is to get an analysis where all the comparisons will be done for you and all fatal gaps that could ruin you are plugged so you are no longer naked. The title of today's book that I'll be reviewing is The No BS Ruthless Management of People and Profits by Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is someone I know very well. I'm a student of his teachings. I've met him in person. Huge fan of this. And you can pick up his book, No BS Ruthless Management of People and Profits, on Amazon for around $20, $17 to be exact. What he talks about in his book is very simply, what does it really take to get productivity from people, and by doing so, maximum profits for your business? With a nod to the Jeff Bezos of the world, obviously Amazon, Steve Jobs, Apple, Walt Disney, and other ruthless yet highly successful managers, Kennedy delivers the answer. In this new edition, second edition to be exact, Kennedy expands on his proven, if not radical, strategies to get accountability, profitability, and productivity from employees. In his traditional no BS, and he's got that patent in no BS style, Kennedy kicks traditional leadership and management ideas squarely in the teeth, we use the word teeth, with a realistic, straightforward assessment of the real relationship between business owners and their employees. One of the great lines he uses in the book is, as long as Bertha is happy. If that's the way you view your employees, you folks are losing the battle, I can tell you right now. Uncompromising strategies help managers gain iron-fisted control and get the results they demand. The take no prisoners advice liberates entrepreneurs like us, right here, you watching, to act in their best interests and insist on implementations of their objectives. And it leads to a cooperative, high-performance team when traditional textbook methods fail. All this stuff you read about in these Fortune 500 companies is garbage. Okay, topics include learning how to hire profitable employees, taking home as much money as possible, making every employee's job a profit center, managing the powerful force of word of mouth, compressing the time between idea and action for maximum profits, and posing questions to individuals that force them to think and improve productivity. No BS, Ruthless Management of People and Profits by Dan Kennedy, a game changer. All of Kennedy's books are. Read it. You'll thank me for it. I'll be right back with my guest, Jason Rosenblum. You have to see this. You're going to love everything he has to say, and you're going to learn a lot.
Get a free copy of Michael Carroll's best-selling book, The Naked Lawyer, mailed to you today to discover how to avoid the 7 deadly sins on your lawyer's professional liability, office business insurance, including data breach, and workers' comp insurance, plus how to correct them while saving huge premium dollars too. Simply call 24/7 to hear a recording at 866-843-0101 or by visiting www.insuringlawyer.book.com.
As promised, today's guest is Jason Rosenblum, who's a managing member of the law office of Jason H. Rosenblum, PLLC. Jason is going to share with you today how he has niched his practice and the associated benefits of doing so. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, Michael. Nice to be here with you.
Absolutely. So let's start with the idea that when you graduate from law school, you have a Juris Doctor, a JD as it's known. With that JD, you can practice in any area of law that you desire. You make that choice. Obviously, any lawyer can. Most attorneys take a job out of law school, and that job dictates the area in which they practice. Other attorneys work for smaller firms where they do everything that walks in the door, as you and I like to call, as we learned from a mutual friend of ours, called door law. Jason, you have picked an interesting niche. Would you please share with everyone watching today your niche?
Okay, Michael. Well, I actually think of it as I have two, or maybe not two, but one's more geared towards a practice area, and then the other one is geared more towards a specific industry. So I practice intellectual property law, and within that even I primarily focus more on the trademark aspect. That's kind of what I enjoy more. That's what I do the most. But we do other work, patents, copyrights. But then there's also the industry that I focus on, which is the coaching industry, business coaches, life coaches, professional speaking coaches that I do a lot of work with. Just like you're an insurance agent that focuses on attorneys, you could write any insurance policy, but it's just easy when you niche yourself for a specific industry, you learn the ins and outs.
Correct. You're absolutely right. Now, you've got, I sure feel that way, and I'm sure everyone watching today will agree. I think it's interesting as can be. Why exactly did you pick let's start with, for example, the IP, the patent, what have you. Why did you pick that niche? I think it's a great story. Why don't you share that with me, if you would, please?
All right. Well, yeah, I was actually in college. Growing up, I was always good at math and science, so I went into engineering. And while I was in college, I think between my junior year and senior year, or during one of the breaks, I was working in my father's men's clothing store in Brooklyn. And one of his customers came in, we were talking, and he's like, your dad tells me that you're in engineering. He's like, you should think about going to law school and becoming a patent attorney. He's like, it's easy, it's fun, and you make a lot of money, and you need to primarily have an engineering or similar background. He's like, so you'd be one of the few that can do it. So I was like, all right, easy, a lot of money, fun. I always liked inventions. In fact, that's why I went into engineering. I like taking things apart, figuring out how it worked always as a kid. So I signed up for the LSAT and took the LSAT and wound up going straight from college into law school.
Outstanding.
And that's primarily how I got that's how becoming a patent attorney became part of my career path.
Very cool, very cool. And you mentioned the word Brooklyn, what have you. You're a native New Yorker, correct?
That is correct. Born and raised. Went to school in upstate New York for my undergrad, then back to law school in Brooklyn. Was there for a while, moved to Israel for a couple of years to change things up. Lived and worked at a IP firm there for a couple of years, and then when I moved back in '09 was when I opened my own practice.
That's outstanding. Now, before we get into your coaching niche, what lawyers watching today, I should say, that is a very specific niche, and most law firms better not play in that arena. I mean, it's not amateur hour, to say the least. And as you and I both know, to be a jack of all trades and a master of none is very dangerous within your industry. I know that from all the malpractice claims, the professional liability claims that come up when someone is scratching and scraping to get, revenues, if you will, and they step outside of their wheelhouse, for lack of a better term, or their sweet spot, and then they make a mistake and all hell breaks loose, as we know. But when you talk about exactly what you do in your niche with patent and what have you, correct me if I'm wrong, you can do business. You're a great referral source for other top law firms nationally to refer business to you. If I'm not mistaken, you're even international. Is that right, Jason?
Oh, correct. Patents, copyrights, trademark, it's all federal law. So I can have clients all over the country as well as all over the world, and I do. I do a lot of work with other business lawyers, a lot of business attorneys that act as general counsels, outside general counsels to businesses, bring me in to assist on the IP matters. They spot it, or they think they spot it, and then they bring me in to really make sure that it's taken care of properly, because they don't understand it. They're able to spot it or think maybe it's a copyright, it's a patent, and then I come in and set them straight on whether it is a patent or a copyright or neither. As well as it adds value to that business. It's an asset, so something that should be considered.
That's outstanding. So everyone watching today, Jason, who I know personally and professionally, there is none better. You talk about someone who operates at a high efficiency level, who gets how to run a business properly, whether it's a business of law, which Jason specializes, and patent, if you will, is where his wheelhouse is, his sweet spot and his niche. But more importantly, you're talking with someone who's as honest as the day is long, efficient, honest, and is going to get the job done. So absolutely, for everyone watching this today, Jason is your go-to guy when it comes to his niche, if you will. And now let's talk about, you and I have a commonality. That's how we originally met, coming out of the Kennedy world, the Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, Glazer Kennedy Inner Circle, and what have you. You then, and I think, again, this is outstanding, Jason, that you decided, hey, there's a glaring gap, for lack of a better term, for these coaches out here. A lot of them are great business people, great entrepreneurs, great idea people. Always the mind is moving, but yet some of them make it, some of them don't. But the ones that make it, when they make it, man. I mean, they turn into 7, if not 8-figure earners, and that's not hype. But share how you saw that and a lot of the gaps that go on there, because I think a lot of these folks their stories are really rags to riches, and I think before it's too late, not only from an insurance perspective, but more importantly from legal advice, how naked they are, full of all kinds of gaps in how to run their business. Why don't you share, how you thought of that niche and what do you offer these coaches throughout, in really any industry throughout the United States again?
All right. Well, as you said, I'm an honest guy, so I didn't even think up the idea. The way how we met was through R. John Robbins at How to Manage a Small Law Firm, and he's the one. He is a coach advisor for lawyers for small firms. I was working with them because I realized in law school they don't teach you how to run the business of a law firm.
Correct.
And I worked with them and learned a lot. But R. John is the one. He went to a lot of these coaching events, and he realized every time he went to one, he got asked a lot of questions because he was a lawyer. He realized there's no lawyers that understand that business, so he couldn't just refer it to anyone. So he got together a group of us, primarily business transactional lawyers, IP lawyers, that felt we can add a lot of value to coaching businesses. Since I had been working in my own firm and had worked in some smaller firms, I had done some business law in addition to the intellectual property. So for me, it was a great combination and great way to do a little more of the business law that I'd done before and really help add value to these coaches' businesses, because they brand themselves heavily. They create a lot of content. They get into a lot of contracts, and they just, although a lot of them, just like lawyers, are great at what they do, the law part, these coaches are good at their part, but they're not always good at the business part or the legal part of the business. So Arjan saw that. He created a program where he taught about 10 of us, 2 weekends, all about the coaching business, the ins and out, how it runs, what are the main issues they need to be worried about. So we really have a good understanding of what a coaching business is, how they make money, the type of issues that could potentially come up in them, and essentially how to protect them. So because I saw also what Arjan and How to Manage had done for me and my firm, it kind of was more of an industry I wanted to help. I wanted to get there. I wanted to go to other events. So now I get to go to other events, and it's both a learning experience, but also it's a networking experience. So I go to an event, and maybe there's 200 potential clients in a room, and I'm maybe the only lawyer in the room. Maybe there's 2 lawyers in the room. And usually the other lawyer in the room doesn't do what I did. They don't know about how to run a coaching business. They're there more for the learning part than the networking. So or they do something very specific.
Yeah,
but it's been great.
It has, and I know. It goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Arjan Robbins, not a better person in the world. I mean, you talk about a great rags to riches story. Well, what a great story, and the value he provides for lawyers. I mean, I can't tell you how he has his live quarterly meetings, as he calls them, LQM, the acronym. I can't tell you how much I am impressed at every single live quarterly meeting. And I am into my 3rd year attending these 4 times a year. You would think by now I could be sitting there like the bored kid in class, mouthing what the teacher or professor is going to say next. No, he comes with all kinds of value. And he is just, he has got the way, what he teaches not only can make lawyers successful, but they can make any business. Arjan is as good or as great as they come in any coach, and I've seen them all. I mean, I've seen Kennedy live, Glazer live. As a compliment to Arjan, there is no better. And I mean, Kennedy and Glazer are outstanding too. Michael McLean in the insurance business, there's none. I mean, you're talking about top flight guys, David Neagle. You could go right down the line. There's so many great coaches, but Arjan is certainly near the top of that list of all-time greats. But very cool. Well, let me ask you this, because I too am a big believer in having a niche for your business. I know how. When I used to be a generalist, when I first got in the insurance business 29 years ago, I'm dating myself now, but my point is very simply that, back then it was just like if someone had a pulse and a desire, it was like, go, do as much activity. As John Wooden would say, do not mistake activity for achievement. Well, when you're a young producer and you're trying to build your business, you're just out there hustling, doing what you have to do. And a lot of losses and a lot of 80-hour weeks. And I remember thinking, maybe this is just the way it's going to be. I was successful. I was making more money than, all but probably 1% of my peer group, but I was earning it, man. And, it's great when you're in your 20s and early 30s. The motor, if you have a high motor, it's pretty easy to burn it at both ends, But then when the kids start coming and you start getting older and your engine slows a little, just through natural maturation of the aging process. And that's when I went into a whole niche type thing. When I started, my original niche was restaurants, soon followed by pizza franchises, soon followed by lawyers. And everyone's like, I get the 2 food people. Why lawyers? Because they're the best people in the world with whom to interact. They're direct. They tell you the truth. They let you have it. And I love people like that. I hate him-hawers, but my life is so much easier. So where I'm going with my long-winded, setup here, don't you agree that since you have a niche type law practice, that you are able to control your hours, get more satisfaction, work with clients, and be the best of the best and be an expert celebrity within your field of area of practice, if you will? Don't you agree with that wholeheartedly, Jason?
I completely agree. I think for me, I went into law with a specific idea in mind going into the patent law. So I always had that. I was going to go for a specific area of practice. But I have done some other areas, and at times I've had to do things that were more generalists.
Sure.
And I'm definitely much more comfortable dealing with the area that I know the best. it's easier to learn that when I do CLEs. I know I'm always doing it for usually intellectual property related, so I'm always furthering that knowledge and getting better in that area. It makes, from the business perspective, marketing, you're just targeting one market. All your messages are geared, especially when you go to a specific industry target, like I have with the coaches. I mean,
Right.
that makes it very simple. And you go from being just, johnsmithlaw.com to attorneyforcoaches.com, or my other site is ustrademarking.com.
Very
So
cool.
you get to be very specific with which way you're going in the marketing. When you're out meeting other referral sources, especially for me, I find other attorneys the best referral source. They know I'm not going to take their business from them because I'm so specific in what I do. That's all I do. That's all I want to do. That's what I'm good at. That's what I like doing. I'm going to give that, if a client comes to me for something and starts asking questions about something else, I'm going to refer it back to the original person that referred it to me.
Outstanding. I love it. That's it. And along those lines, I know there'll be lawyers watching today like, oh, that's great. That works for you, Carol, and Jason, that works for you. But it's different where I am because I'm left-handed and, I'm going bald, or I have too much nose hair, or I'm too tall, or I'm too short. All the excuses that we tell ourselves, I got to generate revenue, man. I got to take it all, this and that. Would you please share how I think you just touched on that, if I'm not mistaken, how you aren't missing out on that, but how you can refer that to someone else. The old Go Giver, there's a great book, The Go Giver, how
Yeah.
when you send it, it's like everything you do comes back to you tenfold. But again, keeping in that, having the discipline, for lack of a better term, to stay within what it is you do great. Just like back in the day, if you're a sports fan, Steve Nash, Magic Johnson, Mark Jackson, Jason Kidd, Isaiah Thomas, Bob Cousy, they weren't playing in the post. They were the point guard distributing the ball. That's what they did better than anybody. There's great Chris Paul today, Kyrie Irving, and on and on. Sure, these guys can score points, but my example is they're not post players. But share, if you would, that I certainly don't feel I'm missing out. When I get a referral of something we don't do, for example, a doctor's office for their professional liability, their medical malpractice, I refer that to a good friend of mine that's down in the Dayton area. It just happens to be in my same state, but they write as well as anybody. And that could be $60,000, $70,000 of revenues,
Yep.
but I will screw it up invariably. Why don't you share how you're not, the fear of missing out, FOMO is my teenage and college age kids like to call it. Share with them how important that is to stay disciplined within your niche.
Well, I think there's also, I know some lawyers like something new. They get bored with the day-to-day. So just because you niche yourself doesn't mean you can't take on something else.
Correct.
So I think people need to realize that, first of all. I don't recommend it, but it doesn't mean if there's a case you really want to do just because you want the enjoyment of doing something new, trying something different, you could do that. You're not limited by that. I'm
Correct.
talking more from the marketing perspective, from the building the policies, procedures, and the systems in your law firm so it runs like a business, so it is more profitable. So you know that everything is going to be done in a timely fashion so you can go home at night with a clear head and not have to work on the weekends and go
Right.
on vacation and not have to worry that something's going to come up because you just didn't know about it. And there might be, when you first pick your niche until you really get out there and meet other lawyers or meet other business people, maybe there might be a slight slowdown. And I don't know. I always went straight into what my niche pretty much was when I opened my own doors, so I didn't really have that experience. But others might if they're switching from being a door lawyer and doing everything to just real estate closings or something like that. But once it starts clicking and you start being known for that, you're going to get the referrals. And then you're going to be able to give out referrals for everything else that you don't do, which people love. So they'll want to return the favor. And also your systems, everything will be running smoother that hopefully you'll be more profitable.
Very nice. When you nailed it, you touch on something that's very important. You can build a niche. You can start with I love the word you said, enjoyment. That's so appropriate because again, why would you want to work with a class of people, business in my case, consumers, in your case, businesses, what in your case too, that you don't like. If you don't like doctors because you feel that they have the God complex, don't work with them, because you're not going to enjoy it. They're going to pick up on that. And, I've got many doctors as relatives. I'm not picking on doctors. I don't agree with that. I find them to be great. It's nothing like having a physician in the family. That's the coolest thing in the world. Or having a dear friend. They are people. I find that the majority of doctors, for whatever it's worth, are people that really got into medicine to help people, because I've experienced that with neighbors and family. So I don't want anyone watching to think that's true, but there is a stereotype that they're like that. And that's why I use that as an example. A lot of people think lawyers are these awful demons or breathing fire and, terrible people and dishonest, and the farthest thing from the truth. They think my business is full of dunces. That I might agree with. And my point is that it's one of those things where there are stereotypes, but have the enjoyment. But you can start with one niche and then go to two and then to three, like we have. We just opened up a fourth niche, and that is landscapers. And how that came about is through one of our great law firms in the state of New York, close to New York City, whose husband owns a landscaping company. He said, would you like to quote that? He's a hell of a nice guy. I said, Rich, this isn't something I really do. Just understand that, but let me check with my two best insurers, the Hartford and Nationwide. Let me see what they think about it. So I went back and I said, is it a complicated class of business? The only landscaper we write is the one that does our office complex. And they said, no, we love it. We'll kill it on this. Here's all the things we have. It wasn't really rocket science. We crushed it for Rich. And then he sees us at the next time we talk to him, he says, oh, I'm so pleased. I mean, we plugged fatal gaps in his protection. We saved him like $5,000, which was like 25-30%. I mean, it was a great deal. But then he says, oh, by the way, I'm involved, with the National Landscape Association. What do you think? I love what you do in the lawyer niche. Would you like to write a book and become a speaker? You're a great speaker, and this and that. I was wiping the saliva from my mouth. And landscapers are nice people. They're hardworking people. I do like them. And that's how we have the capacity and the staff to do that. And we've got the insurance companies to do it. So you're right. You can, either venture into something on a small level or big. And just because something is a niche doesn't mean you need to be the national powerhouse in it. It just means you can be the dominant player within your choice, but understand it, be great at it, know every nook and cranny, and like you say, use the right business workflows so you don't make a mistake in, trying to generate revenues and miss a deadline, a filing, or misrepresent someone, and then you have to call me, and, well, that's why I exist. But anyway, that being said, well, Jason, as always, I mean, it's more than a pleasure to chat with you. We did this once before, and we had a line through the screen, so this is redo number 2. Then we had a little trouble. We were sitting on the tarmac here, for lack of a better analogy.
We're not letting the technical difficulties keep us.
You got it, but we're finally cruising at our altitude. So as a lawyer watching today, I think they would be completely excited to speak with you, whether it's a coach watching, because this will be promoted throughout the whole internet, but along with lawyers for your IP work. And it'll be at the bottom of the screen here. But for those that will be listening to this possibly on a podcast type, why don't you share how they can get in touch with you via websites? You did touch on that earlier, email address and phone number, and it's, of course, going to be along the bottom of the screen here.
All right, phone is 888-666-0062. That's 888-666-0062. Email jhr@jhrlegal.com. That's jhr@jhrlegal.com. And then I have the attorneyforcoaches.com website, as well as ustrademarking.com are the two websites.
Outstanding. Well, Jason, I cannot thank you enough. It's always a pleasure. You and I were, kind of a love at first sight thing. So I think the world of you, and I am always impressed with you, and I appreciate the living daylights out of you. Thank you for your time today.
And thank you, Michael.
I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. You're going to have a wonderful trip. Enjoy your upcoming trip. And as always, it's a pleasure, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon. I'll be right back with. You're welcome. I'll be right back with today's final thoughts on today's show. What another winning show we had today with my great guest and someone I can call a great friend, Jason Rosenblum, who is a managing member of the law office of Jason H. Rosenblum, with offices in South Carolina and New York City. Jason, of course, is an incredible international resource for all lawyers who need intellectual property or business coaching law references, as there's none better than Jason. Do contact him or visit all of his information, visit his site. It's all right here beneath. Call him, email him, go to his site. It's all right here for you. Plus, really, don't discount for a second the incredible value, as Jason shared, how making his law business a niche type practice has made his life both so enjoyable and extremely profitable. Okay? Area of expertise, niche. It's what I've done in my business. It's what you want to do too if you're a lawyer who already doesn't implement that within your business. Also, today's book review, No BS, Ruthless Management of People and Profits by Dan Kennedy. There's none better. Google Dan Kennedy. He's written a litany of books. This is, frankly, my favorite that he's written. Your relationship between you and your employees is what's going to make you ultra successful. Ultimately, it's going to make or break you. So read this book. It is a game changer. And I always like to close with, hey, listen up, okay? My goal on every show is to cover you from being naked, whether it's on your professional liability or on how to run your law business, or frankly, anything in between. So until next time, I wish you continued success and hope that you'll allow me to be a key part of your success.
For more information about Michael and the services he provides, go to insuringlawyer.com. Also, you can get a free copy of his book, The Naked Lawyer, by visiting insuringlawyeurbook.com or by calling 24/7 to hear a recording at 866-843-0101 to get a copy mailed to you today. And remember, make absolutely sure that you never, ever are left totally naked without the necessary insurance. See you next time.